hello. Listen, let me first apologize. I am sorry for the wasn't us. The system was like, I am not giving you no video today. I've been sitting here, apostles plugging, I'm plugging, moving. It's like, nope, I don't care. You're getting no video today. So we had to move some things around and call the name Jesus a few times, and the Lord gave us back some video. So we're sorry for the late. We were ready on time waiting, but the video just did not want to show for us. But we thank you for your patience. We thank you for your diligence. We thank you so much that you waited for us. Thank you for waiting. I hope your waiting will not be in vain today, right? Appreciate you. Well, thank you all so much. Welcome to Vessel of Hope, under the umbrella of Healing Sanctuary, under the leadership of Apostle Marcelle Sampson. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Woo! Oh, let me tell y'all, when technology is something else here. You saw what happened a couple of days ago, where they claimed that it was a reset, and it shut down everything. Claim, but we all know, for those of you that have been on a prayer line, you know that it was a hack. But we're gonna leave it at that. But anyway, but technology is something else. Like it can stop you or it can progress you. And look how it just stopped us because we couldn't get video to come through. And it was this. The devil's always a liar. The devil is a liar. So. But thank you all so much. Thank you for joining Best of Hope. I'm here to give you a Tuesday goodness, your Tuesday greatness, your Tuesday little joy, a little piece out of what's going on, a little piece out of this humidity that we're having, the heat we're having in New York, and it just doesn't seem to want to give us a break, right? It doesn't, right? So again, I'm just gonna throw this in. This is why I like winter. Because I have no complaints. Let me just enjoy the cool. Right, Mother P? She's like, nah, I like the heat. So thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you. But today I want to talk to you on understanding your story, right? But before we get to understanding your story, you know what I need for you to do for me today? I need you, for those of you that are on Facebook, I need you to love it. I need you to share it on your wall. Let people see it. Let them come on. Let them listen. It might bless them. It might impact them. I don't know. We don't know what God will do in the midst of the show, right? But we just go with how Jesus leads us, right? And for those of you that are on YouTube, you know what I need you to do? Like, subscribe, click your notification bar on for if you get something, just if you just pop up one day, you're able to get it, right? Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate each of you that's been diligent in doing that for us. I thank you. So today we're talking about understanding your story, Prophet Loretta. Understanding your story. Okay, we're talking about understanding your story, right? A story is a narrative about people or events. It's usually including an interesting plot. Right? It's like you sit down, you watch a movie. That's something. If I sit down and watch a movie, you gotta have a good plot. If your plot is weak, or so I'm like, no, because I can't follow. It's just and if the acting is good too, right? So a story is a narrative between people and events, usually include an interesting plot. It is basic information about someone or something. So that's what a story is. So we get that understanding of what story is. That's what a story is. So today I want to talk to you on understanding your story, right? And I can't give you tools, I can't give you principles, I can't give you insights. I'm going to give you perception, one perception. Right, Prophet Loretta? I'm going to give you one perception on getting to understand your story. Right? One perception on getting, right? Let me give me a little Guyanese accent today. One perception on getting, right? On getting. On getting, right? On getting to understand your story, right? So the only one perception I have, there's a lot, but again, I'm trying to narrow it down to one because we don't want to sit here all day. We're having a pizza party after this. The kids are waiting, they're anticipating, they're just eating snacks all day. Like something's wrong with them. I tell them eat breakfast. You know what they eat for breakfast? Cookies. Like, what is wrong with you? But it's summertime, so I'm giving you a break. I give breaks to the kids in summertime. You know, summertime. Hey, just enjoy your life a little bit. Yeah. And I'm in a good mood today. I'm in a little good mood today, right? I gotta cheer everybody up right now, right? So the one perception I have for you is to tell it. In understanding your story, you have to tell it. Tell it. Prophet Loretta, if I say right, just be like, Pastor, you just said right. Just kidding. Right? So you have to tell it. tell it. I cannot tell your story. I cannot narrate your story for you without your information. And I cannot get that information unless you verbalize it to me. Unless you go ahead and articulate it to me so that I can write it down and I can get an understanding of your story. If I do not get an understanding of your story, if you do not tell me your story, then and I begin to write it, what will happen? What will happen? What will happen, Prophet Cherise? What will happen? It will just be a mixture of feebles. This is how I will write your story. If you do not give me information, it'll be a mixture of feebles. It will just be compiled of assumption and faulty facts because you haven't told it to me. So this is why the only perception that I have for you in understanding your story is you having to tell that story. I'm that kind of way. I don't like when people are like, oh, but you know what they said. I don't like that. I don't want to hear what they said. I want they said, the person who named they said. I want they said themselves to come and tell it to me because I want them to express what they're saying. I want to hear it from their mouth themselves, because if someone else is sharing, it's guaranteed, right? It's going to be assumptions in there, faulty facts and fables. It's guaranteed that's gonna happen because you even when I'm describing a movie, like I'm telling Apostle, I was telling her about this documentary, right? On Netflix, and I was like, Apostle, did you even watch that documentary? She did not. She ain't got no time. It's busy. But I told her about this documentary. I was like, oh, you gotta watch the documentary on Netflix. It's really good. It's about a religious organization and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to describe it, but I can't tell you too much details because I want you to watch it. If I tell you Apostle, like if I tell her details, she'd be like, so why should I watch it if you just told me about it? So I'm like, I want to tell you, but I want you to watch it because it's very insightful. It's very interesting. All the things they have and they're saying there. So I'm listening as I'm watching Apostle, you got a thing, and she's like, oh yeah. So I'm describing some of the information that I gather from this documentary, right? But I cannot do it justice until Apostle sits down and she's watching it herself. Right? Because I may miss out some information. I may even add information that's not even there because of what I perceive they're trying to say to me. And all of this is faulty. So again, one perception of understanding your story is you having to tell it. I gotta calm down because I realize I'm getting into my Brooklyn accent, right? So I gotta Brooklyn! Providence Areno! Providence Diaz! That's how we do. So understand it. Listen, y'all, we're here to give you joy. We're here to give you an upliftment. You know, we're here to just make your day a little better. There's a lot going on in the world. A lot going on in the world. And I'm not here to bring you down. Right? I don't want to add no salt to your sorrows, right? So you have to tell it. In telling it, right? In telling it, you won't leave out important factor. Well, I would hope you wouldn't leave out important factor. Right? Because Prophet Cerise, you ever had a conversation? I talked about this a few times ago. You're having a conversation with someone and you're telling them and you're talking and so on and so forth, and they're sharing something with you. And what they're saying, they're cutting like meat of the story, and then they're jumping over facts, and then they're going in and then they're telling. And when you finish, you're like, but I don't understand this. I don't know. I feel like there's some miscommunication here. I feel like you're missing something, and they're not sharing story about someone else. They're sharing story about something they experienced. So when you're telling your story, you have to tell the truth and tell the facts of that story. Oh, the facts of life. The facts of life, right? Because these facts are the things that shape who you are. The facts of what you will share in your story. Prophet Arish, thank you. Prophet Arish said, I love your show, Pastor Marcelle. I look forward to it every week. Oh, I appreciate that, Prophet Arish. And I tell you this, and it's the honest truth. You know, as the older folks like to say, it's honest God truth, right? It's honest truth. Tuesdays, Acts Apostle, Tuesday is my favorite day. Tuesday is the best day for me because I get to sit down and we get to have our dialogue together. And I appreciate each of you that come and take your time out to sit down and to talk to me as well, you know. So again, these facts that you share in telling your story are the things that shape who you are, right? So when you understand your story, it gives you a clearer view of who you are. We talked about this a while back about the lady when she's making the roast and she got to cut the piece and put it in the crock pot, and then her daughter asks her why you do that. She had to go to her mom, and then she had to go to the grandma and say, "Oh, grandma said I did it because the roast was too big and the crock pot was too small." So now she understands why they cut the roast and put it in the crock pot. It's not because it's gonna make the roast sweeter. It's just because she needed it to fit. So when you understand the simple facts of your story, it makes your view clearer. Well, and this is why I love to sit down and listen. Also, of course, as most of you may have heard, Mother P twin brother has passed on Sunday. He died. So now the family's organized, and there's her siblings. There's 6 of them total. So her siblings, they're calling Mother P because she's the eldest. Obviously, her and her twin brother were the eldest. He came out first, and she came out. So I'm sure when they were younger, he's probably like, "But I'm older than you. But I'm older than you," right? So now they're gathering information. They're going through the family lineage of the Somerset, of the Westmoreland, of the Pollards. Those are the three main names. If you're from Guyana, you know those names. It's all over the village. So the Somerset, the Westmoreland, and Pollard. So now they're gathering information. They're getting the lineage together. They're going through the cousins, this, and so on and so forth. So I love to sit down and hear when Mother P talks about these things. Why? Because it helps me to understand my story. It helps me to know where I came from. And someone said this one time. Someone said, you know what? One of the sad things is that a lot of people, I guess more so in the 50s or 60s, they're not trying to share their story.
True.
And we all understand there's some negative things in everyone's story. There's some things that you're not pleased with in your story. There's some things that you wish you could have done different. Things you could have said different. Some actions that you did. You're like, oh, I should have done that. But this is part of who you are, and you have to share those stories, right? Because when you understand your story, it gives you a clearer vision of who you really are. Right? And then it becomes your blueprint for the future. Because again, I go back again with my mama. She's telling the story. She's giving a lineage, Prophet Patricia. She's giving a lineage. And one time, let's pause that story for a second. One time, when I was in seminary, a particular lady, one of the sisters, she's like, she's very fortunate to have an understanding of who her forefathers are, even though they came through slavery. Her lineage kept the diary. I felt like she was making up the story. I felt like she was lying, but I was like, even the professor was like, "Oh, really?" Because I'm like, you just want something to say. But anyway, this is what she said. She said her family kept the diary or something of going back to so she can trace all the way back into Adam. I said, well, you listen here. Your family's like hardcore.
Liar.
That's what I said. I thought she was like, the professor's like, oh, really? And he didn't elaborate on it. He just moved right along. Because we all sensed she was lying. But anyway, but you know what would have been really important if she really did get the understanding of her lineage. If her forefathers and her forefathers before that would kept telling stories. And ask Apostle, I know more about our lineage than Apostle do.
Stop.
I'm about to say stop. Why? Because when I take Mother P to her doctor, when we drive out 2.5 hours back to Brooklyn to take her to her doctor, right? Mother P will tell me these stories, and then she'll call names, and I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. And Mother P got to say, you don't know who this person is, you don't know. And I'm like, no, I don't know who this person is. This person is so and so. It's cousin so and so of so and so that came out of so and so, and it was my grandmother's son, uncle, nephew, and I'm like, you still remember that? But the important thing is that as you as individual, you have to sit down, Professor Loretta. She will be a good writer. Mother P, I'm telling you, I'm sure Mama Loretta, right? Prophetess Patricia, I am sure Mother Peggy, I'm sure they would be good writers once they share their story and they tell you their story, tell you because what? Because that will be your blueprint for the future. Because later on, like right now, everyone's calling Mother P as they all sit and gather together to share information. And Mother P's like, no, it's not that. No, not that person. Nope, that didn't come out of. Nope, that's not from that. That's not from the Westmoreland. That's from the Somerset. No, that's not from the Somerset. That's from Pollard. So she's giving the information, right, and sharing that story. So it makes the future clearer. So what? So when that information is shared to her 6 kids, 5 right now, our task is to share that to our kids or my nieces, my niece Marissa, favorite aunt. You know what I do? Every time she comes over, I find a time and I'll tell her story. And I'll tell her about Pinky Parkwood. Y'all know Tell you if Pinky Park was alive. That's Mother P. That's Mother P grandmother. If Pinky Parker was alive, me her would blaze the streets of New York. But that's another story, right? That's another story. But we tell stories. We share our stories with the next generation, so it can be a blueprint for them for the future. Because as sad as it is, we're not going to be for the rest of our life. Apostles going to be caught up. That's right. And we need to share that with the next generation. We need to share that with the next generation. Prophet Loretta said she's going to have an honorary degree. Yes. Mother P, Mother Peggy, Mama Loretta, they're going to have honorary degrees for storytelling. Yes. So we have to show. So in order to, when we share the story, it helps us understand our future. Also, it will be your testament for the next generation. The testament for the next generation. And my niece was saying the other day, she was like, Dad don't know anything. If I need anything, I just call Auntie Marcelle because she knows everything. I'm like, meaning talking about history, about the family. Yeah, and if I don't know it, I will like ask grandma. She'll know or she'll share, and then I get to learn more. So it helps the next generation, so that when they're sitting down and they're telling tales, they can say, "Oh, I don't know Pinky Parkwood. I wasn't alive when she was alive, but I've heard so many tales of Pinky Parkwood that I have nicknamed myself Marcelle Veronica Pinky Parkwood Sampson." Right? Because every time, right, Prophet Diaz, every time my mom tells me, every time my mom tells me a story about Pinky, I'm like, man, that's something I would do. Like me, we would blaze the streets of New York. Oh my gosh. Because I find familiarity in her. So let this be a blueprint for you to share your story to the next generation, so it can be a blueprint to them, because they may not see themselves in you, but they may see themselves in their aunt or in their great grandma or grandma to come, right? So we have to share our information. So your story give you guidance. Take a sip of water here. Your story gives you guidance. For example, don't pedal while you're going downhill. Why do you think someone ever said that? Don't pedal while you're going downhill. Because someone was going down the hill and they pedaled, and what happened? They couldn't find the brakes, or it took forever for the bicycle to stop. One time, we lived close to Prospect Park when we were living in Brooklyn, and I was young. I was probably like 14 young. I was, oh man, boy, I tell you, those days will blaze the streets of Brooklyn. And I would go to Prospect Park, and I had this bicycle, and I would go there. And there's a hill on Ocean Avenue. Let me try to describe it for you. Probably already you may understand, Prophet Diaz, or any of you familiar with New York or Brooklyn area. There's a hill on Ocean Avenue. When you drive down Ocean Avenue, coming into the Grand Army Plaza, right there, connecting onto Flatbush, right? If you're in the park, you're coming down a hill. And you come in, and the hill is literally this steep. I would ride when Apostle, we were hardcore back in the days. Apostle would run. She'd run, and I'm like, hey, I'm riding my bike. You run, I ride my bike. So Apostle would run down those hills, and I'm like, ah. So the first time I went, we're going down the hill. I'm getting ready to ride down the hill, and I was pedaling. Everyone know you don't pedal down a hill, and I'm pedaling. You know what happened? And I get to the bottom. If you know when it turns on Flatbush, the Grand Island Plaza, when it turns right there, it turns right there. What happens? It's a steep turn. So if you're pedaling, you can't really turn because it's going too fast. You know, the first time it happened, what happened? I went downhill and I went straight into the bushes because it kept going straight. So I can say, do not pedal while going down a hill. Because at the end, what will happen? You will go in the bushes. You will fall. So that's a story that I can share with others and let them know. I mean, if you go down that hill and pedal, you do that curve, you got skills. But I don't got that. I ain't got that guy. Apostle, you know the hill I'm talking about, right? Because it's very steep, and you gotta not pedal so you can turn. Right? The best things about family can do is tell their generation. That's right. That's right, Prophet Loretta. So I can say, do not pedal while going down a hill. Another thing individuals can say is make sure he marries you before you have sex. Why? Because it's not only I've heard people that are not even Christians say this. It's not because it's a biblical principle, but because they know that if you have sex before you're married, there's chance that you will get pregnant and you have a child out of wedlock. So they're telling you these things to understand the story, and usually this come from individuals who have had kids out of wedlock, and and it stagnate their life in a way because they had to come out of school and so forth. So it tells you a story. So when you hear someone say that, you okay, and they can say, look, this is why. And it can always be, if he looks like a duck. No, you heard this one. If he quack like a duck, he's not a cow. Because if you look like a duck, he quack like a duck, then he's guaranteed to be a duck. And he walk like a duck. He's not a cat. He don't meow. He's a duck. So all of these things, as you share with your story, it gives you guidance, because you can tell someone, hey, Paul is having that person, that kind of trait and personality of a narcissist. And I dated your father before me and him left. He was a narcissist. Be careful of that personality. And you have to tell. Don't just say, oh, don't date Paul because he looked like a narcissist. No. Date because he seemed like a narcissist. No. Don't date Paul because he seems like a narcissist, because when I dated your father, he had these same narcissistic trait. And how Paul is saying that to you, your father used to say that to me. How Paul is acting this way, your father used to act that way. You have to share the story. To understand it, you have to tell it, right? In understanding your story, you clutch, right? Experience, limitations, and expectations. I'm going to say that again. I promise, Cherise. In understanding your story, you will clutch experience, limitations, and expectation. I'm gonna say one more time for the people in the back row. To understand your story, you will clutch experience, limitations, and expectations. Experience because you have been there. This is sometimes I've been there, done that. I won't go back, right? I bought the book, I read it, and I didn't like the ending, right? So to understand your story, you will clutch, or you will grasp experience. And experience is that you have already been there. You've already done that. And you will also grasp limitations, because you know your own strength, how far you can go, how much you can be pulled, or how much you can be pushed. That is limitation. How much you can be pulled and how much you can be pushed. We used to sing a song one time, I didn't know my own strength. And you don't know your own strength until you've reached your limitation. So in understanding your story, you clutch or you grasp limitations. You also clutch or grasp expectations, because you know what you want and you know not to settle. Let me just throw this real quick and come out. Why you think I'm still single? I know what I want. And I know not to settle. Don't think I've gone through 42 years without marriage proposals and people like, oh, you the one the Lord sent me, right, Apostle? There have been a lot of, boy, you better get out my face. You look like a duck. You quack like a duck. You are a duck. So in the expectation, it lets you know, this is what I want, and this is what I will not settle for. Understanding your story. Things happen in our lives that we can't really put two and two together. Sometimes when Apostle and I were hearing a story, we're talking and we're like, somebody said something, and I'm like, you know what they're saying to me, that one on one don't make two. What they just said, it not adding up to two today. I'm seeing more like a 10 here, but it's not adding up to two. So we have to be careful, because things in life, when we go through life, when we go through our story, it put things together. You may not understand why he or she left you or cheated on you. You may not have understood that. And you probably still don't understand it now. Why? Because it's still a process. You're still trying to figure it out. You're still kind of trying to go through it, because it's all a part of your story, and it's pulling things together. You don't understand why the loved one may have died or went on to be with the Lord. Someone said the other day, someone said, listen, I don't know if they're going to go meet their maker, but I know that they're going to go to hell or they're going to go to heaven. And I was like, got a straight point. It's either or. right? But you may not understand why that loved one had to die. You may not understand why you failed when you try to accomplish something greater or a bigger goal you had in life. You may not understand it, but you may not understand it now. You may never understand it then, but it's all a part of your story. I don't understand. There's a lot of things I don't understand. At funerals, I don't know if they do that in American funerals. I've been to a few, but I don't think I've ever heard them sing this song. But in our culture, they like to sing by and by. Oh, we understand it better by and by. You know what they're saying? You don't understand the situation right now. You don't understand the story. You don't understand what's happening, the conclusion of this person's life. But maybe later on down the road, you're gonna understand it. And it still makes up, what is it now, Prophet Loretta? Your story. Right, Prophet Patricia? It still makes up your story. Right? Oh, Apostle, oh boy. Apostle she just came out of prayer room not too long ago. She was in there for like 3 hours. And I'm like, she got a meeting. I think she forgot she got a meeting today. But listen, one thing I know is I don't ever go and tell Apostle, hey, you got something to do while she praying. That's between her and you. You want Jesus to strike me when I'm not doing that. I'm not about that life. I ain't about that life. No way, Jose. I don't ever do that. So I'll be like, oh, well, when she come out, I'll tell her she missed her meeting. Or unless it's like an emergency, someone's in the hospital right now, they're going to surgery, they need prayer. But still wouldn't do it. Nope, still wouldn't do it. She'll find out after. Because they always say, if she's in the midst of prayer and an emergency happen, the Lord will tell her, she'll start praying right there. So I don't need to tap her and tell her to pray for this. Right there, right? Right. Prophet Loretta, he's supposed to put right. I said, right. Prophet Patricia put it. Thank you, Prophet Patricia. Prophet Patricia put it. She said, right. Yep. So understanding your story, you don't understand a lot of things that happen, things that went on in your life, but you will in the end. In the end, you will understanding. But listen here, things happen in your life to shape you and to shape your story. This is what Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 says in the God Words translation. Let me see if I can read this. I done made these fonts so small. You know what we say in Guyana? Crapo, smoke your pipe. Right? So Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 in the God Word translation tells us this. Everything has its own time, and there is a specific time for every actions under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pull up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. Interesting that they put kill and heal together, right? So if you kill somebody, I guess you can heal them, right? But that's just there. And a time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to cry and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to hug and a time to stop hugging. A time to start looking and a time to stop looking. A time to keep and a time to throw away. I think Solomon put that there, time to keep and time to throw away, just for the women, because we hold on, as we saying, God, and that drawers that's tear up that you're like, or this that nightgown that you like to wear that's rippy, got a lot of hole in it, but that's your favorite nightgown. You're like, I can't. I would tell a story here, but I won't, because I move along with time. I can't get rid of that nightgown. That's my favorite nightgown. So anyway, so a time to keep and a time to throw away. Verse 7 of Ecclesiastes 3. A time to tear apart and a time to sew together. A time to keep quiet and a time to speak out. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. So you see, you go through all of these seasons in your life. I wanted to say right, but I'm not going to say right there, Prophet Loretta. You go through all these seasons in your life, and in all these seasons, it develops your story. Because now in the summertime, it's hot, and the story that is developing right now is that it's hot, and you have to turn on your AC. For those of you that have an AC, or for those of you who do not like AC but you rather the fan, you have to turn on your fan because it's hot. Wintertime tells another story. Because in wintertime, it's cold. For those of you who live in climate that changes season. So it's cold in the winter time here in New York. So we have to turn on the heat because we gotta make the house warm, especially for Mother P and the old bones. We gotta make the house warm. You gotta warm it, but not too warm. Not too warm because it's gonna be too much. I still gotta have my window open, let that cool air come. I got to have my ceiling fan and I got my other fan going. But the seasons you go around. Prophet Patricia, she said right. You gotta. I love you. You go through these seasons in your life and it develops your story, your experience, because as Ecclesiastics say, there's birth, there's death, there's planting, there's killing, there's healing, there's tearing down, there's building up, there's crying, there's laughter, there's mourning, there's dancing, there's hugging, there's looking, there's thrown away, there's tearing apart, there's sewing together, there's keeping quiet, there's speaking up, there's love, there's hate, there's war, and there's peace. Some of us, or maybe all of you, have experienced these things in your life. And what have these things done for you? It developed your story. So you have to tell those stories. You have to tell that story, right? Tell that story. My story, I was born on Wednesday, April 14th, 1982. Right, Apostle? Yeah. It was the best day for Mother P's household because But let me tell you a true story. I heard Mother P tells me this, and my siblings tell me this. When I was born, I had these rosy cheeks. So everyone wanted to carry me. They would run after me to hold me, to carry me. I'm sure somebody must have made me fall a few times, but no one's gonna admit it. I was the youngest child, right? Born in Georgetown, Guyana Hospital, right? In South America. And I grew up in the village of Better for Walkton, also known as BV, as we like to name it as well. It's better to walk in, but it's hard to walk out because it's such a beautiful village. So that's part of my story. And I was born to the mother of Alberta Pollard and to the father of McCowan Sampson. So I was born to these individuals, the youngest of 6 kids. And of course, we migrated to America. When I came to America, I went to PS 207. I had experience there. I experienced racism there. And in Guyana, I can't see. Gotta move that little thing for me. The mouse part. You gotta move the mouse part so I can see. There we go. That's my cousin Karen. You see my cousin. We grew up in the same village of BB. We hung out. We played together. Yes, Karen's my cousin right there. Yes. So I grew up. So we migrated to America. I went to PS 207, a Caucasian populated school. Literally, it's probably about 5. Let's give it more. Let's go about 20 African American kids in that school. So I experienced racism. I experienced being yelled at my teacher in the 3rd grade because in Guyana, you walk up to the teacher, you tap them, and you tell them you need to use the bathroom or whatever it is. So I experienced my first experience when I sat in Mr. Bernstein's class. Yes, you can tell out his impact because I remember his name. Don't worry, we're close, so I can take my time and tell the story. Mr. Bernstein's class, and I had to use the bathroom, so I got out of my seat. I went and I tapped him on the seat, and he turned to me and said, "Don't you ever touch me." He was a Caucasian teacher, not because he was Caucasian, mean that he said that, but he said to me, "Don't you ever touch me." So I said to him, I need to use the bathroom. He said, "Go sit down, raise your hands, and then ask me to use the bathroom." But I didn't say bathroom. We had guy in an accent, right? I said, "My guy use the latrine," but or the toilet. My guy use the toilet. We gotta use the toilet, right? We gotta use the toilet. So I went and sat down and I raised my hand. And it took him about 30 minutes before he pointed to me to ask him to use the bathroom. That was my first experience with not my first experience with a mean teacher, but my first experience of feeling such a way in a classroom where the teacher was so mean to me as I came to America. And I'm sitting there in my 3rd grade class and Mr. Bernstein is so mean to me. So he finally says, okay, he finally picks me, he calls me, he gives me the key and said, "Go to the bathroom." I go outside in the hallway, and mind you, I'm new to the school. I don't know where the bathroom is. I don't know what the bathroom is. I'm wandering the halls, and finally, a nice teacher comes out. Another Caucasian teacher comes out, and she's like, "What are you doing out here, young lady?" Because she see me walking back and forth. I was like, "Oh, I'm looking for the toilet." So she asked one of the kids in her class to come and show me where the bathroom was. So that's how I got to learn the bathroom. But that was my first experience, and that was the first. And in that setting, that's why I first got the N-word being used to me by a Caucasian guy who didn't like And this is third grade, y'all. These kids, what are you, like 8 years old? And he would love to use that word. And being in elementary school was my first time having the experience of being bullied, because in Guyana, you don't mess with me. You don't mess with the Pollards, because it's no joke. We tear you up. But here in America, I was told, my aunt told me, she said, no, if you fight in America, because you know I was a fighter, if you fight, we're going to have to send you back to Guyana. You're going to be away from your mother. I don't give her wrong for saying that. It's something to have to like, oh, you can't fight. So I was being bullied. I was being called names. I was being threatened, but I couldn't fight because I was a fighter in Guyana, so I couldn't do that. So I was like, oh, is that a Providence guy? Had to hold myself together. Right? So let's move on with the story. So anyway, so I moved on from there, finally graduated and moved on. I had Miss Langer, was a great teacher. I remember this in junior high. These people impacted my life in elementary school. And then I moved on to junior high. And I had some this is now more of a predominantly African American community, because it's right around, not too far from where I was at. And some of these teachers there, like, I wanted to choke them. But let's backtrack, right? Let me go real quick. In elementary school, I would come home and I'll be sad, and my cousin, she'd be like, what happened? And I was like, oh, these kids, they just keep messing with me, they just keep hitting me, and I know I can't hit them because they're gonna send me back to Guyana, and my mom is here, and I don't want to leave my mom, blah 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 blah. And my cousin said, no. I gotta tell her this story when I see her, she remember. She said, no, you don't make anybody hit you. No, that's bullying. Don't make it. She said, you fight. Oh my gosh, that was the worst thing she could have ever said to me. Oh no. So the next day I went to school, and I was in a bus, the cheese bus, right? And this is now where the flat front bus was coming in, and we had radios in there, and it had AC and stuff. So I'm in the bus, and this girl she used to always pick on me. We're standing up and we line up to get ready to come out the bus, and she's pushing me. Right? And she clipped the back of my shoes, right? With my sneakers, with her shoes. She clipped the back of my shoes. And I said, oh, and I remembered my cousin said, fight back. I said, oh. I turned around, her bust her face up, but let's move along. We don't want Prophet Diaz to come and try to arrest me for the things I did in the past. But here we go. I'm telling you this because it's my story. To understand who I am. So anyway, from that moment on, guaranteed every week, the principal would call Mother P because I was in a fight. And that's when I became, but I wouldn't bully people. And that's when I became a bodyguard to Fred. Fred was my good friend. Fred and Jennifer, two of her great friends. And I became bodyguard to Fred, and he would pay me to protect him. So anybody look at Fred wrong, I'll punch him in the face. Like, don't do that. Cause Fred was he was a little chunky boy. He had big old cheeks, he was a little goofy, but he was cute. He was a nice guy. So I moved on to junior high, and then that's where I experienced other teachers. And I experienced a teacher that not to say that culture is something else, but this teacher was from Trinidad, and she didn't like me because I was from Guyana. So she gave me a hard time. She rubbed me up. Yeah, but I never can be disrespectful to the teacher. So I moved on from there. I went on to high school. Apostle, you gotta move it so I can read. You gotta move the things so I can read, because you're laughing. What? We get better from the duck down here in the. Oh man, you better by Jesus, but not by me. That's right. You better. No, see, listen. So let's move along, because my time is going. So I moved on to high school, and that's when I went to Tilden High School, and from Tilden High School I went to BMCC. I went there for a year, and then I moved on to Indiana Bible College. Then I went on to Nyack Seminary, and from there, see who I am now. But I'm giving you a synopsis of my story. There's more details in there, but if we have time, I'll be here all day, and the kids' pizza is gonna get cold, and Apostles Perry's gonna start acting, so we got to move it along. But all of these things, I sit and I tell in details to my nieces, to the kids. CJ, whether you want to hear it or not, I'll tell him stories. We were watching a video today, and he was like, "Say, what's his name?" He's like, "Name." What's his name? Name. And he was like 1 year old. So I tell these stories because all of these give an understanding of who I am. All of the events that happen in my life give an understanding to who I am. And then, of course, I met Jesus for real at the age of 16. I met him for real. I was meeting him for fake beyond that. But at the age of 16, Apostle invited me to church. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Apostle invited me to church, and at this time, for those of you who know me, knew I love Chinese food. Chinese food, my favorite thing, right? So Apostle said, Apostle said, I spare the details as moving along. So Apostle said, if you come, they were having like a revival or something and doing a play. And she said, if you come to church, I'll buy you Chinese food. I said, really? It was a Saturday. I was like, really? I said, okay. So I had plans with a friend, and I was like, I can't come hang out with you today, girl, because I'm being promised Chinese food if I go to church. If I go to this church, because I was going to a different church, because at the time Apostle was married and she was living somewhere else, and she was like, I was like, all right, I'll come. So obviously we go there, blah, 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 got saved, all that other stuff. But all of this, a synopsis, is my story. So because I just share that information with you, because I just told you that information, if someone was to say to you, where's Pastor Marcelle from? You say, hey, she literally just told us that she was born in Georgetown Hospital in Guyana, South America, and she grew up in BV, known as Betterfor Walkton. I shared my story. So in understanding, in trying, in the perception of trying to understand your story, you have to tell it and you have to share it. And don't lose out details. If I was to sit here and tell you 42 years of my life, we will be here for like for a good 3 months, because I like to tell stories. Right, Apostle?
For real.
I love to tell stories, and this is why my nieces love it. And I love to tell you from beginning to end. And and I'm gonna put dramatic. You see, I'm just telling that story, and I'm sweating, and I gotta give the drama to it, and I pull the voice back and go forth. And this is what you have to do: tell your story, so that you can understand it. There's no other way to understand your story than you telling it. Why? Because it brings back your remembrance. It make you remember some things. Because we can forget as human beings. But if someone asks a question, you start telling, it's like, oh my God, yeah, this is what happened. So tell your story, right? So, in conclusion, I have a question for you. What is your story? What is your story? And do you understand your story? What is your story? Prophet Loretta, Prophet Patricia, what is your story? And do you understand your story? And if you know and understand your story, I want you to tell it. So that's my task for you today. Call your kids. If you sit down, Mama Loretta, sit there, start telling, just start saying things. Just start telling when I was 5 years old. I'm all big about that. Oh, real quick, one quick story, and then I'm done. Because this story, I love it. I tell it all the time. I tell my nieces them all the time. When we were growing up, right, I was probably about 5. I want to say 5. Apostle's going to correct me, but I want to say I was 5, right? And we lived in the village, right? And Apostle's job, when she got out of school, she had to come and pick me up from the daycare, right? So that was her task every day. And she was saying the other day, y'all listen to this. Apostle was saying the other day, you used to make me late for school. I got in trouble with Miss Garnett, and I used to get lashes, because back then they lash you with a ruler when you're late. So she used to have to leave her school, run over to me, pick me up from the daycare, and take me home, change my clothes, drop my lunchbox, because my brothers, they fight when Mother P packed my lunchbox. They be like, oh, you better not eat that and bring that back home when you come home. So I'm over there starving in school because they threatened me because I had to bring my lunch back. But anyway, so let's move on. So she had to drop me, change my clothes, grab me again, and we're running through the village. And remember last week a few weeks ago I told you the story about the lady that had the dogs. So we had to guide and maneuver ourselves from those pit bulls to run back, to go all the way back towards the Cinema Road, right? Because they had a theater there. We call it Cinema in Guyana, and Mother P would be there. And she would take me to the front, and the man, because we go there all the time, the man already know who I am, know who my mother is. So she would hand him to me, and the man would bring me to Mother P, and I would sit with Mother P, and we would sit there and watch Indian movie almost all day.
1 to 6.
1 to 6 o'clock. What? See, Apostle, no. 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. We will sit there and watch Indian movie. I didn't understand a lick of what they were saying. Because they're speaking Hindu language and they're dancing and stuff, but I knew some songs because we sat there every day, Monday to Friday. That was our thing. Because Mother P go there to soothe her mind, because Daddy gave her a problem, to soothe her mind. But this is where my sister would drop me, and this is the story, and this is something that I remember so vividly in my mind of why I love movies so much. Because I grew up just being there watching movies. No, Pastor, you don't need to get the charge and watch movies all the time. Right? So that's a story, and I tell the story so often because it's a fun moment for me. And you know what that story? That tells the story of who I am and why I love movies so much. Why I love TV so much. Because from 1 to 6, Monday to Friday, I'm sitting at a theater with Mother P watching Indian movie, not understanding what they're saying and hearing people yelling, sit down, move your head. And then they're yelling at the man in the back that's doing the projector. Yeah, we had projector back in those days. That's doing the projector that the stuff is skipping, so he got to fix it, so everyone's getting upset. So all of these things make up my story. So again, I ask the question one more time, right? What is your story? And do you understand it? Okay? Okay, so I'm going to leave you here. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Let us pray before we go. Lord, I thank you for your people. I thank you, Lord God, that they're coming here on Tuesdays just to sit down and for us to dialogue together. I pray that they've learned something, understood something, get a perception of their story, God. I pray that you continue to keep them throughout the days. We come back tonight on the prayer line to learn more of your word, to learn your word, to get in depth in your word as Apostle will teach unto us. I pray that you bless your people. Keep them throughout the day. For those that are in a hot climate, keep them cool, Lord God. I thank you, Lord. Bless your people. In Jesus' name, amen. So watch your story and do you understand it? I love you all. Don't forget to like, to love, to share, and www.hellomarcellesampson.com. And I will see you all as always next week. God bless you. Mwah!